Howdy boys, it's NPC and today we're going to be going over the top 10 NPC vehicles in GTA Online. Before we dive into things, I do want to let you guys know that this is not an opinion-based video. Typically, people are entitled to their opinions or whatever, but given that I am GTA NPC, my word is gospel for this one. So everything on this list is 100% factual and correct. You can take my word for that. Before we dive into things, drop a like if you guys enjoy the video. That would really help me out and help the video get the attention that it deserves. So without further ado, let's hop into it. Number 10 on our list is the absolutely beautiful Lampadati Furore GT. I feel like this one's a little more rare seeing it around, but it's an absolutely gorgeous vehicle. I think it's probably one of the best looking vehicles in my opinion. The only reason it's not higher on this list is because there's no customization, and even when you do get to customize it, there's not even a spoiler option, which is pretty sad because I feel like it doesn't drive all that poorly even without a spoiler, but having that option would make it 10 times better. I think for being such a limited vehicle in terms of customization and being able to enhance its performance and it being so old, it performs quite nicely, but the real reason it makes the list is just because it's incredibly sexy. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $450,000. Is this vehicle worth your money? Personally, I think yes, because I just really like the vehicle and I don't think $450,000 is a lot of money, but I think it is a pretty pricey vehicle compared to some of the other ones on this list, and definitely does not perform as well as some of the others on this list just because it doesn't have a spoiler, which is kind of a big thing in GTA. Having that traction increase does make a difference, so really up to you whether or not you think it's worth it. Number 9 on our list is kind of a similar case to the Furore GT. It's an absolutely beautiful vehicle, that being the Grotti Carbonizzare. For being such an old vehicle, it does offer pretty decent performance. The biggest difference is that on the Carbonizzare, you can throw on a spoiler, as you can see in the back, and in addition, this car is a convertible, very cool feature. I think the Furore and the Carbonizzare are like way ahead of their time visually. They're both super sexy vehicles, and I think a lot of the older GTA vehicles have a little bit of like the GTA touch to them in quotes, which is like they get modified so that they look less realistic, but I think the Carbonizzare and the Furore GT are just really sexy. Like if they got released modern day, people would be pretty happy, I think. But the Carbonizzare is a really reliable NPC vehicle. You always see it pop up around the streets. They're really fast cars if you need to steal one. Although you can get some pretty high bounties placed on you for stealing one of these since they're more high-end vehicles. That's the only major drawback to this one. I would say the biggest downside with its performance is that it just doesn't have like a really high top speed, but I think the handling is pretty good and the acceleration is not bad as well. It also sounds really clean. It's a really chill sound. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it at the bottom of the two-door section on Legendary Motorsport for $200,000. Is this vehicle worth your money? I think if you're looking for a good free mode driver, the Carbonizzare is pretty cool because it's a convertible, it looks great, it sounds great, it's a decent drive. The only real major drawback is that it's just not that fast in a straight line, which is kind of something that you might want a little more in free mode. But if you're just taking it off the street, then I think it's a pretty sick car. Next on my list, we have the Bravado Banshee. The Banshee is another vehicle that can come with or without a top. I think the Banshee appears super frequent. I don't know exactly how the NPC vehicle spawn rates work. I'm pretty sure they're on some sort of rotation, but I feel like I see the Banshee around so often, and if I really just need like an NPC car to get to my personal vehicle or just to get somewhere really quickly, the Banshee's always there. But aside from that, the vehicle sounds really cool and is pretty decent in a straight line. And not to mention, the Banshee is a decent investment because if you get one of these, you can always upgrade it into the Benny's version, which is a really fast vehicle in a straight line. The reason why the Banshee is higher than the Carbonizzare is because of its higher top speed, which I think is a little more valuable in free mode since we've got like long highways like this, getting from point A to point B. That matters a little bit more than being able to hit your corners well. And it's just a really nice vehicle. I'm not going to say it looks better than the Furore GT or the Carbonizzare, but it's a pretty unique looking vehicle, you know? It's got more of its own style compared to the other sports cars. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it on the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $105,000. That is both for the topless version and the topped version. They're the same price. Is this vehicle worth your money? For $100,000, that is dirt cheap. So if you're into the look of the Banshee, I'd pick one up. The only thing is I would probably turn that into the Benny's version, because then you get a lot more customization, better performance, it sounds cooler. But the Banshee alone is just pretty reliable off the street, and that's why it's at number 8. Up next, we have the Obey 9F, the original Audi R8. This vehicle is actually quite fast in a straight line. If you guys can't tell right now, we're kind of zipping past the cars on the highway, which is a good thing. This is another vehicle that is a convertible similar to the Carbonizzare, where you can retract the hood. No, okay, never mind. I'm driving the Cabrio version, so it doesn't have a hood. I think the upside to this vehicle performance-wise is that it's pretty quick in a straight line. The only thing is that it can get a little slippery with the handling. If you guys can see, it's pretty easy to swing out that back end. It's not the worst thing in the world, but the vehicle is a little light. And then one other drawback is that you will get a pretty high bounty if you steal it. But it's a great looking vehicle. I'm glad they updated it with the 10F, because I think this is, like I was saying earlier, this is one of those vehicles that has the GTA spin on it. I think the front end especially looks not like an R8, but the back end Rockstar did a decent job with. Boom, there's a guy right there with the 10F. Looking good, buddy. 1, 2, 3. Bro, it's getting smoked. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it for $130,000 if you want the Cabrio version. Otherwise, it'll be $120,000 on the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport. Is this vehicle worth your money? I think it's a pretty good investment, especially if you're more early game. It's a really cheap car. It looks pretty cool, and it's fast. What else can you really ask for? I've had mine pretty much since the start of the game, and I've never had a reason to sell it. It just kind of sits in my garage now since there's newer, faster cars, but it's not one I've ever wanted to replace, and I think that speaks to its reliability. And I think it's one of the most iconic street cars. Up next on our list, we have the Invetero Coquette. I think this is a car similar to the Banshee, where it's really reliable in the sense that it seems like there's always one around, like more than the other ones. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Oh my god. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but in my experience, I always find myself driving a Coquette. The reason it's higher on the list is because it is really fast, and it has quite good handling as well. It feels like it's got pretty similar weight to the 9F, the main difference being that this one is far grippier. I can't get it to spin out, you know, it like corrects itself. Okay, well, that was obviously not a good demonstration, but when I'm taking my corners, I can kind of just hold down the arrow key since I'm playing on PC, and if I oversteer or something, it'll snap itself back into place. On top of that, it's got a really high top speed as well. It's definitely one of the better NPC vehicles in terms of performance. And it's got a lot of really good customization as well. Obviously, I'm rocking the candy red with the black secondary. Oh, okay. And it looks really cool, especially after you customize it. I'm personally a much bigger fan of the older Corvettes with the rounded lights in the back. I wasn't a huge fan of the Coquette when I first saw it, but especially after customizing it and driving it around, it grew on me a lot more because it's just a package deal. Good customization, good performance, looks great as well, and is fairly cheap. Coming in at the ridiculously low price of $138,000 that you can find under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport. Out of all of the vehicles I've listed up until this point, so the bottom half of this list, I would say this one is the most worth it, obviously because it has a higher placement than the other vehicles, but I just think you're getting really good bang for your buck. The $138,000 is it's literally like 10 minutes of work even for a new player with no businesses. You complete one achievement and you get like $100,000, so I would for sure grab one of these. Even if you guys have been playing the game for a while and have a lot of money saved up, I think the Coquette is just a pretty cool vehicle. Everyone likes seeing it around because everyone has access to them, and it's cool when you get to see one modded. At number 5, we have the Canis Seminole. Now, I'm sure if you guys are watching this video, you may have seen some other videos that talk really highly of the Canis Seminole, saying it can swim underwater, it can fly, it can take 300 rockets. While those things may be true, it's not better than the Declassi Asia, which is the actual #1 vehicle in GTA Online. It can pretty much do all of those things, but it can take one more rocket. So, you know, 301 is more than 300, making the Seminole not the #1 vehicle in GTA Online. I don't want you guys to be misinformed, because then that would make me a bad YouTuber. Just know you've been warned. But the one thing that the Seminole does have on the ASIA is its off-roading power. This thing is a beast climbing uphill. Oh my god. The ASIA unfortunately is a street vehicle, but the Seminole is literally built to be taken off-road. It's got just the right amount of power to keep those wheels moving at a nice and steady pace going uphill. Of course, if you have vehicles that have too much power, there will be too much wheel spin and it won't be able to get going. But the Seminole doesn't have that issue. So, really cool vehicle overall. If you guys don't have one, I do think they make for really fun off-roaders. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it under the off-road section of Southern San Andreas for $30,000. Super worth your money. You don't even have to buy this one, because NPC vehicles that you pull off the street can be put in your garages as long as they're under $100,000. So since the Seminole is only $30,000, if you see one and you have the space, you can just take one and put it in your garage. The only thing you'll have to do to ensure that you have it forever is take it to an LS Customs and throw on a full coverage insurance option. And then you've just got this beast of an off-road vehicle that can also take 300 rockets and swim, underwater, and fly. Up next on our list is the Pegassi Infernus, which I'm sure you guys have all seen this vehicle if you play GTA. This is like the OG. Like, while you're in story mode and you're trying to pick a car up off the street, you look for an Infernus because they are super sexy, very cool looking Lamborghini. I feel like it's got that modern day GTA. I feel like it's got that modern day GTA look. You know, the back end is really unique. The front end may be a little simplistic, but the back end I do think looks really cool for a GTA vehicle. It sounds really aggressive, and the best part about this vehicle is its nutty acceleration. It actually takes off, foreshadowing the existence of the Torero Exo, which is also a monster off the line. It's not an electric vehicle either, so it doesn't have that ugly, high-pitched whine, I guess is a good way to describe it. Oh my god! Just look at it spit, man. That's so fucking cool. It does have kind of limited customization since it's a really old vehicle, but I think you can still make it look pretty nice nonetheless. And it mainly gets placed so high in this list because of its cool factor. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $440,000. Is this vehicle worth your money? I'm leaning more towards the side of no than yes, because while it is a really cool vehicle, $440,000, especially if you're a new player, is a kind of hefty price tag before you get businesses going and stuff. And then if you've saved up $440,000, you might as well just save a little bit more and get yourself a Zentorno, because Zentornos are just the cooler big brother of the Infernus. But if you got some spare funds, I think the Infernus is a very cool classic that a lot of people seem to enjoy. Up next on my list is the Pfister Comet, which I'm sure you guys all know. This is a pretty This is a pretty iconic vehicle because it's just, I mean, Porsches are unique looking vehicles. Rockstar did a pretty good job implementing one into their game. Now, the reason why the Comet was able to make the top 3 is because it actually is really, and we stuck the landing. A little spoiler hang there, goddamn. The Comet has really good performance for being such an old vehicle. It's got surprisingly good acceleration and top speed. It outpaces that of the Night Shark, which is the smaller, faster version of the Insurgent, which is a pretty heavily armored vehicle for those of you that don't know. On the channel, we have a manhunt that we recorded with Harmon and Twingo, where the Comet was running away from Night Sharks, and it was surprisingly quick. Definitely outpaced us there if you guys want to see a more high-stakes demonstration of what this vehicle can do. I think the handling is a little slow in its turns. I think it's like lighter on the back end. I'm not even sure lighter is the right word. I guess maybe just laggier in response. Like, it's really easy to get the back end to swing out, but there will be some delay because the car just isn't that heavy, so it doesn't turn instantly. For racing, the Comet definitely is not a bad vehicle, especially since it's pullable off the street, because it's got a really good turn radius. That's something that I think it's a little overlooked in cars sometimes. Not every car has a good turn radius, but the Comet can angle itself really well fairly quickly when it doesn't slide out, which is controllable. I'm just not doing the best job at it, but it shifts its weight really well, and I think it's a nice feeling. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it at the bottom of the two-door section on Legendary. For $100,000, this thing is dirt cheap, definitely worth a cop. Fast vehicle, good looking. I'm not gonna say it has the best customization, but it is a good looking vehicle, so it kind of just like, that'll like carry the looks for you, especially with the new rims. I think it's pretty easy to make this vehicle look good. Dude, that is so lucky. That is so lucky. Because next up on our list is the Karin Sultan. Is this an RS? No. Okay, it just says RS in the back. I don't know why it says RS if it's not. But the Karin Sultan is it's kind of a beast. It's a really fast vehicle that you can just pull off the street. It might not be quite as obvious as some of the other ones because this is unupgraded. Every other vehicle that I've had so far was a personal vehicle, and they were all upgraded to the max with transmission, turbo, and engine upgrades. This one is default, so it's not like all that fast right now. But remember, as an NPC, I can vouch, and my word is gospel. This vehicle is really fast. It's got great handling as well, very sticky, hard to get it to spin out, even if you try to. And it looks really good. The Karin Sultan is just like, it's such a cool, unique looking vehicle. I would say it's a little less traditionally sports looking than some of the other vehicles on this list. The Sultan can also be upgraded into the RS variant, which is super cool. Sounds really good as well. Has a ton of customization options because it's a Benny's vehicle. Another plus side to the Sultan is that if you were to steal it, from an NPC, if you end up getting a bounty placed on you, it's not going to be nearly as high as some of the other ones on this list because it's not counted as like a high-end vehicle. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it under the Benny's website for $12,000. It is one of the cheapest vehicles on this list by far, being a tenth of the already dirt cheap price. This is like pennies in real life. That's the equivalent. Like, that's how much you have to pay. If you wanted a Sultan and you wanted to buy one for yourself, like not even pull it off the street, which you can do, and put it in your garage and give it full coverage, insurance, and everything, you could just sell one Lampadati Felon and then rob a couple stores and you would have enough for a Sultan. It's almost like a cheat code, especially for new players. I love the Sultan. I love the Sultan RS as well. Definitely a steal. NPCs that are driving the Sultan, they know what's up. Boom, I got 10K for delivering that. If I get one good behavior reward, I literally have enough to buy a Sultan. I'm telling you guys, that shit is a fucking steal. Before we get to our number one spot, our honorable mention for this video is the Vapid Dominator. The Dominator is a really cool vehicle. It was one of my favorites when I was a really low level and just liked picking up cars off the streets because it's got very swingy handling, I guess is the best way I could describe it. It's a little bit laggy. The entire body weight shifts to one side when you turn, and I find it really fun. The only thing is the car does not have great handling because it's a muscle car. It's like the OG muscle car with disgustingly bad handling. I don't even want to say disgustingly bad. Like, the Dominator is actually a pretty fast vehicle. It's just really easy to get it to kick out. And unfortunately, that was enough for me to stop it from making the top 10 on this list. I think the other vehicles on this list tend to be a little more reliable than the Dominator, but I like it enough and think it looks good enough in order to be featured on this list, even if just an honorable mention. If you guys are looking to grab one of these, you can find it under the two-door section of Southern San Andreas for $26,000 if you unlock it as a sponsorship tier reward in the Arena Ward career, or you can get it for $35,000, which is its regular price. Another vehicle that's incredibly cheap and is really fun to drive. If you're a new player, I would definitely grab one of these. And if you're not a new player, it's probably not worth having just because there's so many faster cars now, but it's definitely a throwback vehicle and it's just fun to own one. And the number one spot on our list goes to the Declassy Acia. This should come as no surprise to anyone. If you guys heard my segment on the Seminole earlier, this thing can take 301 rockets. That's one more than the Seminole. And of course, one is greater than 0. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, one, it's just stronger. Like, that's kind of how that works. But aside from its explosive resistance, The ACIA can also go underwater and it can fly as well. The only thing that the Seminole has over the ACIA is the fact that it's got great off-roading abilities. But like, why do you even need that if your car can fly? So I don't have any of the upgrades on this ACIA because I've downgraded this ACIA for the sake of this video because NPCs obviously don't have access to all of those modifications. So this is the ACIA with, you know, just some of the standard upgrades and everything. But it's a great looking vehicle. Definitely does not look like a little stubby wiener dog with tiny legs. And similar to the Sultan, if you were to steal one of these from an NPC off the street, you would only get a really cheap bounty placed on you, if even one at all. You would never get that target placed on you for other players to find a reason to come and ruin your day. I thought this was all pretty common knowledge, but I guess less people know about this than is ideal. So there you go. Now you guys can all be informed about how great the Declasse ACIA is. And if you guys are curious on where to find one, where to grab one for yourselves, you can find it under the 4-door section of Southern San Andreas for $12,000. Same cheap price as the Sultan. Literal pennies. I'm telling you guys, those two vehicles, definitely cop those because they're by far the most worth it on this list. A tenth of the price of anything else. And both vehicles just have a lot to offer because they're crazy good package deals. But that's going to wrap it up for the top 10 NPC vehicles in GTA Online. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed, comment down below and let me know what you thought of my list, whether or not I should have added or taken away anything. Sub to the channel if y'all are new. There'll be more videos like this coming out in the very near future, and that's about it. So, take care, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace! Yeah.